Quick disclaimer before the video starts. This is my very first video essay, so I apologize for any choppy edits or bad dialogue or research. I'm very sorry. I tried my best to do good research and back up my points with evidence. So if you want to see all my evidence, I will link a Google Doc in the description below that will have all of my links. And yeah, also, I know this is a very late video. The Microsoft Activision deal happened a long time ago, back in January, but I did so much research and I really felt passionate about this topic that I wanted to post it either way. So bear with me if some of this information is a little bit old. I did try to update it as I kept on going through the script, as I kept editing it, as I kept recording my lines. But like I said, this is a project that I've been working on for months. So I would really appreciate it if you guys understood that. But yeah, without further ado, enjoy the video and have a great day.
Well, it must be a great time to own an Xbox right now. As many people know, a few months ago, Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm super curious on what is to come with this deal and what would happen in the gaming world, as well as what new things could come because of this. Following this curiosity, I've decided to make my very first video essay on how the Xbox Activision deal would change the gaming world for better or for worse. Today, I'll be talking about what will happen in the gaming world in terms of PlayStation versus Xbox, the benefits that this deal will bring to Activision Blizzard titles, and finally, what the future of gaming will look like after this deal, because damn, this will lead to lasting changes. So go to the washroom, get a snack, and strap in, because we're about to go diving deep into this giant rabbit hole together and exploring the world of this deal. First of all, what Activision Blizzard games are going to be acquired by Microsoft? Aside from the big games like Overwatch or Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard owns a lot more games than you would think that would be transferred over to Microsoft. These games include, but are not limited to, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Guitar Hero, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, StarCraft, Hearthstone, and lastly, the best acquisition from this, fucking Candy Crush. Woo! Anyways, with these giant games that Microsoft owns from Activision Blizzard, it makes you wonder what's gonna happen to the gaming world after this, as Microsoft slowly becomes the Disney of video games, acquiring more and more big name companies like Bethesda back in 2020 and now Activision Blizzard. Well, let's talk about that. Before that, however, let's quickly touch on what's happening now, as this news is still relatively new, as it was only a few months ago. What we're currently seeing is a sort of panic and curiosity with what Microsoft is going to do next with the Activision Blizzard deal. Sure, right now Activision Blizzard isn't under Microsoft just yet. In fact, the deal isn't expected to close until fiscal year 2023, which starts this July. What we're seeing right now is the awkward transition period as Activision Blizzard goes from an independent company to a subsidiary one. It still leads to many questions that the gaming world has about the future of Microsoft and its competitors and what will happen to the console wars as a whole. There are multiple ways that Xbox might play this out that I believe could happen. 1, they turn single player games into an Xbox exclusive. 2, they keep their multiplayer games as cross-platform for PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. Or 3, the more tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, Microsoft will try and twist Sony's arm into implementing Game Pass onto PlayStation. Theory number 1, single-player Activision Blizzard titles will be turned into an Xbox exclusive. This is one of the most asked questions of what Microsoft would do for COD and the future of all other Activision titles. Right now, it's inevitable that all of Activision's games will be on Game Pass and be free for those who have it both on PC and Xbox. But it still begs the question of, will Microsoft actually make COD and the other famous games under Activision an exclusive? I personally think that they will turn future story and single player games to be Microsoft exclusive, but not multiplayer games, which I'll be talking further about in my second point. The reason why I believe this is because of the fact that Microsoft has a huge incentive to do so. Not only can they sway intense PlayStation fanboys to get an Xbox, it also leads to more sales in the future towards Xbox because of the fact that they now have these big games under them, and it coerces people to get Xboxes just for those games. This has been proven before, as we've seen with PlayStation. People have gotten PlayStation just for the exclusives. Games like Spider-Man, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and so many more have famously been known as masterpieces and must-plays by the gaming world, and are all single-player, story-driven games. It's gone to the point where PlayStation's main selling point and the reason why PS5s are still in shortage today is because of the exclusives. Before the Xbox, Activision, and Bethesda deal, PlayStation was the main leader in exclusives and why people would buy the consoles just to play them. Consumers before the deal never had to worry about those big multiplayer games being lost to a single company, and instead they only had to face their judgment on exclusive story games like what PlayStation had. But now the turns have tabled, leading to a high chance that Xbox will turn and produce single-player Activision games to be exclusive only to them. We've already seen that future Bethesda games like Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will be Xbox exclusives, and probably the most of the games that Bethesda releases in the future will be exclusive as well. This guides Microsoft into getting higher sales from consumers who want to play these big franchise titles exclusively on Xbox. And also, it greatly affects a direct competitor for Microsoft by proving that they too can make a great exclusive and compete in that competitive industry. Number 2, Microsoft keeps multiplayer Activision games as cross-platform. Second possibility is that Microsoft will keep most multiplayer Activision Blizzard games as cross-platform and not take all of them into exclusivity. This was actually confirmed by Microsoft on February 9th, 2022, where Microsoft announced that they would keep Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles on PlayStation, and also that they wanted to expand these titles to the Switch as well. Quote, "To be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreements and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. We are also interested in taking similar steps to support Nintendo's successful platform. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for gamers, and for our business." End quote. But this probably will still mean that new multiplayer titles would be Xbox exclusive. Note that in the quote, they said that they would make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles cross-platform. This doesn't mean all. Now let's talk about why Microsoft chose to open up cross-platform for their titles. While you might think that this answer is simple, there are still a lot of reasons why they did this. First off, Microsoft had to make giant multiplayer games like Overwatch and Call of Duty cross-platform in the future. Not only does making it exclusive thin out your potential player base by literally eliminating a console or 2 consoles if you're really counting Nintendo Switch, but like, who's playing on the Switch? Like, what the fuck? Anyways, it also causes PR issues and general distaste towards you as a company from the gaming community. Imagine how annoying it would be just to try and play a game with your friends to find out that since you're on a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, you can't play with your friends who own an Xbox. Unlike single player games where the experience is your own to choose and isn't a giant game that everyone plays, games like Overwatch and especially Call of Duty, it is paramount that they have to stay cross-platform in order to get as many players as possible and to better the game and also the player counts. Remember, games only can operate their servers if they have a consistent player base who is generating revenue for these games to continue to thrive. Without it, it's pointless to keep on paying to keep those servers open. If they were to make big name multiplayer games exclusively for Xbox, it's a lose-lose situation for them. Not only do they not get as many players as they could have, they also get major outcries and anger amongst the community. In the end, video games were made to better the lives and to entertain, whether it is for a good time or to improve their moods. If Microsoft really cared for that, they would leave multiplayer games as cross-platform. Hell, even if they were profit motivated, by making these multiplayer games exclusive, they are taking a lot of potential sales from other consoles and flushing them down the toilet. They're essentially putting a $380, the price for an Xbox Series S, paywall in order to get a multiplayer game from Xbox. Not only this, by making multiplayer games cross-platform, it'll allow them to make more profit, as since Activision Blizzard is under them, Microsoft will get all the profits instead of only a cut from what it used to be with independent game companies. It's a win-win situation for both the consumers and the company if they allow their multiplayer games to be cross-platform. Lastly, a final point to mention is how competition is good for the industry. Competition encourages companies to constantly be improving the quality of their technology to try and outwit them. By having competition, it creates innovation and efficiency to make more and to appease consumers. Not only this, but by having competition, it results in more choices that the consumers have and what they can choose between. Number 3, Microsoft will try and get Game Pass on PlayStation. Now, this is just a conspiracy theory from the gaming world, but I thought it would be fun to cover and to talk about. This conspiracy theory is that Microsoft will make it so that these Activision Blizzard games will all be available on Game Pass, and that the only way that PlayStation users would be able to play these games would be from Game Pass. Using that power, Microsoft would then force Sony to allow Game Pass on PlayStation and essentially turn PlayStation into a puppet of Xbox. Now, obviously, Xbox already announced that they were going to turn big Activision Blizzard titles cross-platform. Also, PlayStation is reportedly trying to make a new subscription service to replace PlayStation Now. This service is reportedly called Spartacus, which goes by a tier-based subscription service where you would pay more money to unlock more games and more benefits or
quote-unquote tiers. For example, the base Tier 1 system would include PlayStation Plus benefits. Tier 2 would have a lot of PS4 and PS5 games. And lastly, the third tier, which I call the nostalgia tier, would be a tier that would have PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games, game streaming, and extended game demos, which would all be available on the service. If Sony doesn't make another mistake like it did with PS Now, there's a chance for it to be a direct competitor to the $4 billion a year industry Microsoft runs and basically owns with Game Pass. If Spartacus were to fail, there is a possibility that Microsoft would try and offer Game Pass onto PlayStation because of the exclusives and games that they would then hold over Sony. But obviously, this theory has so many holes. This includes the fact that by having Game Pass on PlayStation, it defeats the purpose of even getting an Xbox. You can get all of the games that Xbox has to offer and amazing PlayStation exclusives on a PlayStation. Not only that, but it gives up one of the strongest things Xbox has going for it, which is Game Pass, and just gives it directly to the competition. But hey, it's still a fun theory to talk about. I think what a lot of people are forgetting about in the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal is about how much good it could bring into the world of gaming and what it could mean for Activision Blizzard titles. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean by that, Ruibixs? Well, you definitely didn't ask that, but still, whatever. Well, dear viewer, I'll be giving some examples of Activision Blizzard titles and the current state that they're in, as well as the problems that led up to it, and touch upon why this deal could greatly benefit them.
Number 1.
Call of Duty. One of the games that lots of players have started to become tired of over the years has been COD. The disappointing mess of the game, known as Vanguard, had a 36% sales decline in the UK alone compared to its previous titles, as well as over only half of the people who played it liking the game.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.
This phenomenon is known as Call of Duty fatigue, and although it has been happening for years now, it has been extremely prevalent in the past year. Take Warzone for example. I used to love that game to the day I died. You can literally look at my channel and see that the first video that I ever posted that hasn't been privated yet is Warzone. But over the last 2 years of Warzone's release, there has been so many faults to the game that can be directly pinned on Activision and how they have neglected their game. For example, the metas, where it had guns that were stupidly overpowered and broken to the point where the game was unplayable unless you used those weapons. Weapons like the DMR, AUG, M16, R90, and Origin shotguns that would literally kill you in 2 shots. These guns would take weeks or months for Activision to fix without even addressing anything about it. This led to many people leaving the game because they just didn't want to play in a world where you're just getting one shot killed like you're playing Rainbow Six. But folks, that's not even the worst thing that Warzone had. No, how about the hundreds of glitches which players could use to exploit the game and to farm automatic wins? Glitches like the invisibility glitch, which allowed certain skins to become invisible, meaning the game just became pay to win. Or the invincibility glitch, where you could Deadpool your shit and not die. And lastly, the glitch that is most infamous of them all, the stim glitch, which allowed players to farm unlimited tacticals like stims or stuns and just torture everyone else in the lobby by just camping in the storm and stimming to the win, or to mobilize enemies in one spot for fucking eternity. These glitches would also last for months on end without anyone in Activision acting on it, leading it to plague the game. And lastly, I think the thing that every Warzone fan has grown accustomed to is the damn fucking hack. Now obviously there's hackers in every game, but in Warzone it was incredibly prevalent. Because of a lack of the report system working, the block list only reaching up to 200 players, and oh yeah, not to mention no anti-cheat at all, Warzone for a good year and a half was a hacking paradise. Now, what did the devs at Activision do? Did they, 1, come in with their billion-dollar budget and deliver an anti-cheat in the first 2 months of hell? 2, did they address the news and tell players they would fix it right away? Or 3, did they wait a whole ass year and then address it and announce an anti-cheat that would come 2 months after when they released their new game along with it? You guessed the third one? Well, congratulations, because you're right. Activision actually announced Ricochet anti-cheat back in October 2021, which was then set for release on December 9th of the same year for the release of Warzone's new map, Caldera. By then, however, lots of people, including big names like Nick Merckx, left the game to pursue others, and the game is still in a bad place right now, as many people aren't enjoying the new map, as well as new glitches and cheats that are being discovered every single day. Now, after my long ass rant about Warzone, how does this tie back into the Microsoft Activision deal? Well, Although it is easy to just shove the blame on the developers of Warzone and Call of Duty, the real people at fault for the shitty position Warzone was put in is in fact the shitty billion-dollar corporation known as Activision and the higher-ups who put so much work on the developers. Who could have knew? In fact, Warzone was meant to just be an add-on to Modern Warfare 2019, but because it blew up in popularity, the studio thought it would be a good idea to incorporate the new games into it. As soon as that started happening, however, the game started to go downhill. Although now there have been reports that high-level employees at Activision Blizzard are discussing leaving the one COD a year formula when Microsoft takes control. By having this, it lifts a huge burden off of the devs and allows a great deal of breathing room and creativity for the devs to make a polished game and to get rid of that copy and paste formula that we've been seeing for the past decade. In fact, we're already seeing that take place with Activision Blizzard announcing Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 that will be released and coming in late 2022 and 2023, along with the brand new engine and updated game mechanics that will be solving a large amount of problems that players had with the current game. Hopefully with these additions from Microsoft, it will lead to major reworks to the current state of COD as well as a new era that we can all enjoy.
Number 2.
Oh yeah, one more thing.
I think something that has become a major meme in the gaming community was that Overwatch 2 would never come out because of how it had constantly been pushed back due to numerous different issues. While COD became infuriating to play for its player base and lack of action by the developers, Overwatch started to die because of its delays, and because of that, its dying player base. First, there was COVID, which obviously messed with production because, you know, it's COVID. Then it was game director Jeff Kaplan leaving Overwatch, and lastly, it was the massive sexual harassment scandal in which employees alleged that a frat bro culture started to happen in the workplace, which led to a woman being sexually harassed and discriminated against. Because of this, many employees were either laid off or they left. And finally, in the last few months, we're also getting claims that the Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick also delayed production by months by shoving on Overwatch 1 work onto the Overwatch 2 devs and then never using that work. So as you can see, Overwatch as a whole is just a fucking shit show right now. You can even see this through the events and updates that they're putting out, with the Lunar New Year update only having 2 new skins that you can unlock, and most recently the anniversary event, which were all reskinned skins and old event skins being brought back. Sure, it's cool to see, but it's clear that the developers are being piled with work in other projects and cannot focus on the main game. Now, how could a change of leadership lead to faster production and a possibility of revival for Overwatch 2? Well, by having a change of leadership by removing people like Bobby Kotick, it leads to more flexibility and more freedom for the developers to work. This also proved the ditching of the one COD game per year formula. If this is going to happen for games like COD, it is also likely to see this happen for Overwatch as well. Microsoft also has a lot more resources compared to Activision Blizzard. Not only that, but by having a non-toxic and safe space for your employees to work in and not literally have fucking human right atrocities happen in them, it's a huge plus in productivity and actually having somewhere to go with your games. Also means more progress being made to other Blizzard games like Diablo 4, which similarly to Overwatch 2 has experienced a shit ton of delays. All in all, the Microsoft Activision deal will be a huge saving grace for all of the Activision Blizzard titles and could mean major positive impacts and new changes brought to the gaming world.
Number 3.
Oh my god! Wow!
Lastly, another giant benefit of the Activision Blizzard deal for Xbox players is Game Pass. At this point, I don't think I need to explain what Game Pass is. Everyone and their grandmas know about Game Pass, but with the fact that a giant company like Activision managed to get snatched up by an even bigger company like Microsoft means a huge win for the Xbox community. Not only does this bring so many more game titles into the Game Pass catalog, it also brings big names like COD into it, which means that it removes that $60 to $80 paywall for players to play the same recycled trash every year, unless these games become better, hopefully. It also means that it's highly likely that as soon as Activision Blizzard titles are released, it will go straight to Game Pass and can be played for by everyone. This is a huge win for all Xbox fans, and it can lead to higher player bases, sales, and more changes, as the developers will be keen on bettering that one game if they have a huge player base and stop making more than one each year. The future of the gaming industry. I think something that desperately needs to be talked about is what the future of the gaming industry is going to look like after the Xbox Activision deal. After Microsoft acquired Bethesda in 2020, which personally to me is seen as the first giant shift in the way the industry operated, and recently now that they've acquired Activision, we are now seeing a dynamic shift of what can really be done and what big name console companies like Sony and Microsoft can do. Now they can just buy the biggest gaming companies and have a grip over them. This also comes after the news of Sony acquiring Bungie, the creators of Halo and Destiny, for $3.6 billion. Many people think that Sony did this to get back at Xbox for acquiring Activision, but they fail to recognize that billion-dollar deals like this take months and months to do. It's not like Sony just fucking kicked down the door and just paid $3.6 billion in cash just to get Bungie. No, these deals take time with negotiations, lawyers, financials, and so many other things to do it. But this then begs the question, if these major console companies are starting to acquire big game companies in multi-billion dollar deals, does it just become PlayStation and Xbox duking it out, trying to see who collects the most amount of big name, big brand developers and companies, like some fucked up version of Thanos with his Infinity Stones? As John Davison of IGN said in an article, it's not a console war, it's a content war. What it used to be was Sony and Microsoft would partner with relatively smaller companies like Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, and Insomniac Games for PlayStation, who created games like Spider-Man, The Last of Us, and Ghost of Tsushima, and for Microsoft, companies like Compulsion Games, Obsidian Entertainment, and Playground Games, which were the companies who created games like We Happy Few, Outer Worlds, and Forza Horizon. All of these companies either were partnered with PlayStation or Xbox and then were later acquired by them, or made games that caught the attention of them, which prompted them to buy it. But the thing is, all of these companies were only acquired in multi-million dollar deals. What we're seeing right now is multi-billion dollar deals going down for these bigger studios. This completely throws off how the industry used to be like. Before, these big billion-dollar studios would be responsible for producing big, mostly multiplayer games that could easily be replicated each year. I'm talking to you, COD and FIFA, which would give the consumer games to play with their friends that were easily accessible. Then you would have these quote-unquote indie or small developers making mostly single-player titles that would pack a story and be known as a specific exclusive that one console had over another, which wasn't that big of a difference between the two, and still allowed consumers to have a lot of flexibility between the different consoles that they could choose to play on. However, these giant video game companies would just keep on churning out that consumer-safe and fun multiplayer content that would help balance the industry. But now you're seeing that perfect harmony thrown out of the window because these once seen as out of reach independent companies that couldn't ever be thought to be acquired, like Activision Blizzard, are now just being bought up like it's every other day at Microsoft and Sony's offices. What this shows for the future of gaming is that it'll gradually start morphing into two giant corporations fighting to capture all the territory and to try to get a stronghold on the industry by just buying out everything. This is honestly a scary thought to think about because it's looking like the choice between consoles, which used to be about single player exclusive games, will turn into consumers buying a console for the big content from these multiplayer company juggernauts. This also makes you wonder what other big game companies could be bought out by Sony or Microsoft. Game companies like Epic Games, EA, and Ubisoft are all potential candidates to be bought out by Microsoft or Sony. In the end, with the Microsoft Activision deal, there are huge repercussions on what will happen in the next coming years for gaming and for the future. For the good of new games that come out, but also much bigger competition that will happen in the time ahead that will stem from it. What I personally believe is that with this, it can lead to new innovations and new content and entertainment take place outside the formula that has been used by Activision Blizzard in so many of their games. Either way, this will truly be a new era of gaming that will take place because of this, and I don't know about you, but I'm fully on board for it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that will be all for my first video essay. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider subscribing and liking the video. If you didn't, leave it with a dislike and let me know what I should improve on in the future. I would love to hear some feedback as it does help me improve my channel. Anyways, this is Ruibixs signing off.